I'm always slightly amazed when these things work. I don't know about you, but my brain completely goes when I'm standing in front of a bunch of people like that. It feels like something slightly Krypton factor, having to assemble a projector, a laptop, some slides in front of 200 people. Thank you very much for inviting me. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll be assembling more slides, laptops, and projectors later this week. As per my introduction, I'm Matt Webb. I'm from a design studio named Berg over in London's trendy tech city. We're just north of the roundabout. If you've not been, you should come. There's loads of great coffee, loads of great people. I'll say a little more about that in a second. I'll say something just a little bit about Berg before I go into this. Berg, we're a very small company. We're 15 people. We came to prominence, I guess, at the end of 2009, beginning of 2010, when we built the first magazine for the iPad, which was just out at the time. Mag Plus was the platform. Popular Science Plus was the first magazine. This is the app we built being promoted on Apple's website. So I come from quite a digital background. But I've always had this aspiration to work with physical things. And this was the first prototype of a physical thing my company made back in 2006. It's called Availabot, and what it does is it connects the online and the offline worlds via this cute little puppet with a quiff that plugs into your computer via USB. So that's a USB cable there. And it's one of those, I think they're the East German push puppets, you know, where you press the bottom and the puppet moves. Let me show you a video. So what it does is it represents one of your friends on Instant Messenger, tells you whether they're around. So it's plugged into your computer. There's your friend on IM. They go offline, falls over. Your friend comes online. I think you can guess. Here we go. We made this prototype. We licensed it to a toy company. They had it under option for 2 years. We thought we were going to be billionaires. It actually market tested very well with 14-year-old girls. They would buy 4 each if it had a shelf price of less than $30. It turns out this is maybe one of the hardest things we could ever have tried to do. There are too many moving parts. In the last 6 years, people have really stopped using USB so much. Everyone's got these tablets, and they've stopped using Instant Messenger. They're all on Facebook. But you know, the desire to make physical things never quite left me. And you know, maybe it's the Thunderbirds thing, as Russell says. You know, I kind of grew up in that world. But there's actually been quite a long history of technology which crosses the online and offline spaces. I picked out a couple of very old favorites. And because you can tell they're very old because the pictures were very small, and I had to scale them up. This is a lovely piece of work by the artist Natalie Jeremijenko called Dangling String from way back in the mid-90s. And I never thought I'd ever say way back in the mid-90s. Oh my God. Just having a moment. It's a piece of red string that hangs in Mark Weiser, who was one of the pioneers of ubiquitous computing. And they hang this red string in the corner of the computer laboratory. And whenever there was heavy network traffic, the string would jiggle. That's all it did. Very, very small thing. But it meant that when a network was really congested, you would just see it out of the corner of your eye. And that's a really nice thing when you think about it, because how much do the alerts on our iPhones, on our desktops, come at a moment when really you want to be thinking about something else? But that ping or that dialog box comes up and distracts you when you just don't want it to leap up. So by putting it somewhere where it's glanceable, where it only gets you out of the corner of your eye, it brings it into the real world, and it makes it a piece of information that you can absorb ambiently. Lovely piece of work. It's kind of what Availabot does as well, actually. It kind of shows you when your friends are around you, just out of the corner of your eye. It's not like sending a text message, it's just like feeling that somebody is around you. This is another old piece of online-offline combo for the very utilitarian purpose of finding out whether you want to go to another room to find out if there's any coffee. The Trojan Room Coffee Pot was one of the first webcams, I think, where the guys in the University of Cambridge Computer Laboratory hooked up a computer and a camera, pointed it at a coffee pot, so they could see whether there was fresh coffee for them to drink from all of a few rooms away. I mean, it seems obvious, right? Like, why not just know whether there's coffee there for you to drink? It just seems really obvious. But you start seeing, just in these very, very tiny ways, if you start crossing the online and offline worlds, it gets more useful, maybe a bit more delightful. So I was fully prepared for online, offline to be the next wave of computing. I was convinced, after Availabot that this was how we were going to spend the next decade. But then this happened. Apple go and launched the iPhone in 2007, and we've spent the last 5 years scaling mobile. Oh well. I mean, I like these things. They're very nice. But maybe the internet shouldn't be trapped behind glass. Maybe it should be in the real world where the action is. So actually, we have started to see connected products. We have started to see connected products. Here are a couple of big ones. This is Jeff Bezos with the Amazon Kindle. I'm guessing most people here probably have a Kindle. How many people here have a Kindle? Okay, it's a bunch. What I like most about the Amazon Kindle is that Amazon already disrupted distribution once. They already moved people from bricks and mortar retail online. What they've done with the Kindle is they've put the shop at the point of desire. They've put the shop right where you're reading, and they've disrupted distribution again. And that's one of the things that happens once you start connecting products. Once you start connecting physical things, you connect those things not just to the internet, but to people's credit card accounts, to user identity, to retail. So when you start connecting products, you start putting shops around people. And that to me is why the Kindle is important. Here's the Nike Fuel Band. Sorry, I did try and do my entire presentation of products being launched by triumphant CEOs, but this is the last one you're going to get. Everything else is just about the product. So this is the Nike Fuel Band that you wear on your wrist, and it tells you how many steps you've taken during the day. Does anybody here wear or have a Nike Fuel Band? 1, 2. Okay, maybe a dozen or so. And what I like most about the Fuel Band is, again, not the product, but the fact that you can challenge your friends to activity races. You can see what your friends on Facebook are doing. You can share your runs with them. But it's that challenge, that competition, that sense of social participation, which means that really it's not a product. It's a device that has your entire social network inside. That's the other thing that happens when you start connecting products. It's a nice device. Also, it reminds you to buy new shoes when it can tell you've done enough running. Shops everywhere. I'll show you a couple more. This is Vitality Glow Caps. This is a connected medicine bottle top. You get it from your insurance company or from your doctor, and if you don't take your medicine, it can let them know. Well, the first thing that happens is it glows, and then it plays a ringtone, and then it gives you financial incentives, and then it tells your insurance company, then it tells your mum. You can start building in behavioral economics. You can start building in little nudges to change behavior into the products themselves. If you want to avoid being reminded of something, it's very easy to close your laptop or not turn your phone on. It's very hard to ignore a medicine bottle top, which is in your house, in the physical world. That can learn from your behavior and also be customized, depending whether you're motivated financially, socially, or with games. Maybe you get points for taking your medicine. Something a bit sillier, but maybe interesting. This is a CNA, the clothing retailer in Brazil. And of course, where people go for commerce now, a lot of it is on Facebook. That's where people talk about things they want to buy and want to share. And these guys have hooked Facebook likes up to hangers in the shop. So you can look at the hanger of a jacket and see how many likes it has. I don't know what I think about this. It's got a long way to go, definitely. I don't really care about what the crowd says. I care about what my friends say. But I really like the fact that it's not kind of browsing online and going somewhere else to purchase, and it's not the shop being a showroom for something I buy off Amazon. It's starting to blend these two worlds. The last product I'll point out, I'm guessing many people have heard of this because Kickstarter has a lot of publicity, is the Pebble Watch. So this is a wristwatch that has an app platform. So you carry the information you want with you wherever you go. instead of it being trapped behind the glass on your phone or your laptop. The thing I want to point out about this particular device is that it went on sale 6 months before they manufactured it. And people paid for it 6 months before they manufactured it, to the tune of $10 million and 70,000 units. The thing about products being connected, it's not just the physical thing that gets connected, it's the entire value chain. From R&D, manufacture, marketing, all of that. People are now involved in products in a much deeper way than they ever were before. So maybe this world of connected devices, this world of crossing online and offline really is happening. Berg hasn't been sitting still. I said I was really into making physical things. The thing we've been making is a kind of a Windows for connected devices. We've made a chip and a web service that we put inside products, and it makes it about 80% easier for any manufacturer to make products that connect to the internet, and about 80% easier for users to configure and control them. Our first product in this world is a little device called Little Printer. I'll just show this video while I talk in the background. This is Little Printer. At lunchtime you can go and see it upstairs. We have one set up. And what Little Printer does is it takes information out from behind the screen and it puts it back in the real world where it belongs. So one of the things we kind of noticed was that, when I got into work every day, I would write my to-do list down on a Post-it note next to my computer so I wouldn't forget it. As soon as an app closes on my phone, it completely goes out of my mind. And the ditto with my calendar. So Google are a launch partner in this particular device, and one of the things we use it for is I print out my Google Calendar automatically every morning, so I know what I'm doing and where I have to go. I can also receive little messages sent to my house, like little postcards. There's subscription content from The Guardian, from science fiction authors, and from cartoonists, and it prints its own face. We'd have to talk about that particular bit over coffee later, but let me just say I'm slightly obsessed with Tamagotchi, and I really wanted a printer where I had to trim its fringe when it grew too long. Miniature personal newspaper. The reason I wanted to show you this, it tells you when your friends have birthdays, by the way. You set it up from your smartphone. The reason I wanted to tell you about this is that we're a tiny London company. And how did this happen? We're 15 people. We're not exactly in the heart of manufacturing in East London, just north of the city and outside the West End. Yet we've done all of this. Let me tell you a little bit, because you may not have seen some of these physical product things before. This is the model. This is the bit we did do in London. This is the CAD, the model of the plastic and the metal, of how this particular device goes together. This is an injection molding machine in Shenzhen. We're manufacturing the plastic and metal in China. This machine injects molten plastic at 100 degrees, the consistency of toothpaste. It comes out on that machine. You wait for it to cool, you take it off, and you repeat. That's how manufacturing happens. It involves a lot of people. It doesn't happen in London. This is our electronics facility in Slovenia, so we're back into Europe now. The printed circuit boards are manufactured in Hungary. They go to Slovenia for QA and for assembly. This is the facility where that happens. You can see just about a tiny little printer in the bottom right-hand corner of this picture. This is in Cambridge, UK. This is what's called an anechoic chamber, and we're testing Little Printer for radio emissions. Why is that important? Well, two main things. When you turn on Little Printer, you want to make sure it doesn't, A, interfere with Radio 4, and B, interfere with air traffic control. Bringing down aeroplanes in order to print out your daily schedule would be bad. They check for this. Those are the two things you have to check for, along with the fact it doesn't poison children or catch on fire. This is in Prague, just north of Prague. Our assembly, final quality assurance and packaging, is all done in the Czech Republic via a UK company and outsourced there. Our supply chain stretches all around the world. And it's really curious. I really wonder about why this happens. Why does it happen here? Why is it happening right now? So again, I kind of look backwards to look forwards, right? To find out what's going on. The place I look backwards is to another industrial revolution. That the one that happened in the late 1800s, early 1900s, across the US and the world. And the particular thing I've been looking at is actually a book that Russell, wherever he's sitting, gave me a year or so ago, which is the Hawkins Electrical Guide. So this is when electricity was very new, in the same way that the internet is very new now. And it's kind of a 10-volume book about how to use electricity. The last book is a catalogue of all kinds of incredible products that people have invented with electricity. Here are some favorites. This is a coffee percolator. A coffee percolator, an electric one's quite incredible because it means you no longer need a servant to make coffee for you. It's actually quite an innovation. So this is one of the incredible things they flagged up. This is a whole system of devices for the medical profession. Now everyone has electricity in their homes. You can have all these various attachments and you touch various bits of your body with them in order to cure different ailments. So it's a single electronic device, and a number of different attachments. This one is to cure hemorrhoids. We probably shouldn't talk very much about how this is used. What drove all of this? What drove all of this was something called the fractional horsepower motor. Back in the late 1800s, there were horsepower motors in all the factories. Those are big engines which are measured in the number of horses they replace. Back in 1888, the fractional horsepower motor was patented by Tesla, I think. This was a not quite one horse. It was smaller. It was suitable for domestic use. And this is the thing we're going through at the moment. You know, it's all about domestic use. Even then, it really didn't take off. The thing that happened was electrification happened in US cities in 1915. And between 1915 and 1920, 500,000 fractional horsepower motors were deployed over the US, running things like washing machines. So used for domestic use, hairdryers, things that make people's lives easier. So as soon as we have this kind of widely deployed infrastructure and a new technology, there's this explosion in new ideas. And I think we're having something similar happening now. What are the enablers in this particular industrial revolution? One, domestic infrastructure. We're at a period of time where we can pretty much take for granted that homes, at least in the West, have internet connectivity. Probably Wi-Fi, but there's connection everywhere. And a lot of people have these things, smartphones, which are kind of like remote controls for any device you might have. So given domestic infrastructure, that's kind of a bit like electrification. We can start building products for that world. The second thing which is different is London. That's why I think it's happening here. Over in Tech City, there's a community of knowledge of people making things, building companies, employing people, dealing with risk, insurance, commerce, and we all know each other, and we're all sharing information with each other, and that kind of thing really helps. The third is maker culture. There's a kind of a new DIY going on. On the left there is a website which lets you do 3D printing. You upload a 3D model and you get back a 3D shape in the post. Very, very useful for prototyping. In order to get 3D models before, you used to have to be a professional model maker or go and talk directly to the factories. No longer. You can get it manufactured by post. The bit on the right, get excited to make things, is more like an ethos. There's a group of people, a subculture, makers, who pride themselves on making things, three-dimensional things, and sharing the knowledge of how to make them. At the 2012 Maker Faire, which is a celebration of such things in San Francisco, there are 110,000 attendees. This thing is big. It's happening in London too. So there's an ethos about making which is happening. Fourth, financing and distribution. It's always been very difficult to make things and to get the money to make things, especially high risk. I showed you the Pebble watch just now. That was funded with a website called Kickstarter, which enables many, many people to fund products, and usually in areas that big venture capitalists, wouldn't really get involved. So that's an enabler. The fifth and final one is that factories, supply chains, suppliers of all kinds are on the internet. It means that a 15-person company in the center of London can be dealing with China, the Czech Republic, and Slovenia by email without leaving our desks. It's impossible to overstate how important that is. My favorite example of this, by the way, is the newspaper you have for your program today, where a very small company, Newspaper Club, was able to knit together large printing factories and customer service to make a very, very easy interface on a complex system. So what we have today is 3 exemplar companies which follow one or more of these different enablers of this big new industry that is happening in lots of places, but especially in London. So I'd like to introduce them one by one to come up and speak. I think all 3, we're going to have Alice from Makey Lab, John from Goodnight Lamp, and Jane from Sugru. I think we have Alice first. Alice's product, Makey, uses some of these new techniques of manufacture, and she's going to be talking more about that. They're based right in the centre of London.
Hello. Where's the old system? You broke it. So I'm Alice, I'm CEO of Makey Lab. We're officially a year and a half old, more like a year, which is when we got the money. We make 3D printed toys from games technology, and we manufacture this stuff right here in London. So I'm going to be quick. I've got probably 5 minutes. I'm going to rush through this. But in about 2007, my husband wrote a book called Makers, and we were hanging out in what was called Fab Labs, and I saw 3D printing happen. And Matt Webb gave me a book called The Real Toy Story, which is an amazing book, describes the 3 decades of M&A and wholesale move to the Far East of the toy industry. 2009, 10, I found myself at the Toy Fair in New York because I am basically a gamer. That's my background. I used to make digital products for kids, mainly games. This is one of my guilds in World of Warcraft that I was playing at the time. And I was in the basement of the Toy Fair at the Digital Kids event. And this is the sort of place where Michael Acton Smith from Moshi gets off stage, having talked about his 50 million players. And then upstairs are all the toys, and the 2 were just kept completely separate. Walked the whole Toy Fair, massive, massive Toy Fair in New York. 2 mentions of Facebook, 6 mentions of Twitter, kind of nothing. And this is 2010. This is a company called Fingerprints, which is an early precursor of what we do. And they use 3D printing to 3D print make a little statue of your World of Warcraft character, which is really important when you've spent 4 actual months and 3 actual weeks and 12 actual days and 6 hours playing World of Warcraft. You want a little statue under a glass dome to show the world what you were doing in 2006. Kind of around the same time when Corey published his book, which talks about the maker culture, and it's fiction, it's science fiction, but not anymore. And one of the first things that happened was a random person on the internet 3D printed his cover, the thing on his cover, and sent it to us, which was amazing. Fast forward a couple of years, and here we are now with the second book called Makers by Chris Anderson. So, toys, going back to toys. I picked up dolls for all sorts of reasons. I used to make avatars. I have a daughter. I was never allowed to play with dolls, so now I am. But what happened was visiting places like Hamleys, walking in the top floor and seeing what is available for girls. Going quickly back, 3D printing, when you look at it, what's interesting about it is not only is it local and each piece can be individual. It's not going to replace injection molding, but that each piece can be individual made me think faces. These are brats. Their faces are all the same. When you go off and look at people who do make things, in fact, customization is really huge. So you see it as a valuable thing everywhere, and yet in practice you can't go into Hamleys and say, I want a customizable toy, I want a toy that looks like me. Get onto Etsy and see the sort of clothes that people make for dolls. They're completely different to the stuff that's mass manufactured. And people like to hack and make and express themselves creatively, especially with toys. This is a Blythe doll. On the left is a Blythe doll with horns, why not? And on the right is the what I call the overbite mod. So this is somebody who took their Blythe doll, shaved off its bottom lip because it looks cuter. And they go really nuts with this. Again, you do not see this in the mainstream toy industry. And so I thought, why can't you take your avatars and turn them into dolls and have everybody customize and create the one that they actually want? So this is our office in Scrutton Street. And this is James putting together some 3D printed dolls that have been printed in Wimpole Street. The hair comes from China. China is now the only place in the world where you can get synthetic hair, sadly. But somebody will make it out of corn and bamboo sooner or later. But nevertheless, that's still one thing that we have to go to China for. The eyes are acrylic and made in Spain. The rest of it's made right here, including all the packaging and etc. You go online, you build an avatar, you make a doll. There's some up there that you can see over coffee if you haven't seen them yet. Where this gets extra interesting from me, so not only are we just sending files off to the printers and getting them back a couple of days later and then packaging them up and sending them on to the customer, but the dolls are born digital. So while they have a physical component, the digital component never goes away. We're looking at ways to get to them to talk back to each other. So, you know, you take your physical doll somewhere and you do something and you get a reward for it online, or maybe you need to get to level 10 in some kind of world or game before you can buy the physical artifact that you've just earned. This is a kind of closing the loop, which I find really fascinating. So this is the digital version of a doll, some of our customers' dolls, and the physical version that we print. White only at the moment, that's just how it is. It's pure nylon. It doesn't come in any colors. It's like pre-8-bit computing, and color will come next. That's one of our designers, Tia. We make little photo stories as we build up the fashion every kind of quarter. This is the winter series, and we hand make this in the office, and we use a little factory in the Docklands. That's a couple of our dolls going on an Arctic adventure, and this season's outfits for Christmas is spandex ski suits. Everything you see there is either made locally or 3D printed, including the goggles and the glasses and the belts and the ski boots and the skis and the ice pick and the tea set and the nerd glasses and the laser sword and the camera, etc. We created these, and then they're real within hours. And this is the magic of this, as far as I'm concerned, is when our customers say to us, actually, can we have like a steampunk kind of compass watch? We say, yep, you can have it on Thursday. We build things hollow so that people can really hack and make, because again, this has come out of maker culture, and we think it should live there forever. Why not play with your toys? So currently the dolls fit an Arduino if you are so inclined to put one in. One of our customers so far did put one in. Well, actually, she did a massive improvement on it and made little Nekamimi ears that turn when you walk into the room and say something. The doll's ears go whoop. This is another of our customers who decided that her dolls needed Movember moustaches. And this is one that's been modded by a lady called Sue, who does what's called face-ups. So that's kind of the future of where we're getting to when we figure out how on earth to do painting. We've got to some colours by boiling the dolls in tea. PG Tips comes out quite a nice brown coffee as well. So hopefully we'll have colours by Christmas. That's a kind of hacked way of doing it. We're working with the manufacturers to do coloured plastics, but that'll probably be early next year. And that's where we make 3D printed toys. That's kind of what the office looks like. You can have a look at us up there. We've got a little shop. Come say hi. That's us. Thank you.
Physical products, and yes, you can have it on Thursday. Things I never thought you'd hear next to each other. Next we have John from Goodnight Lamp, who's going to be, it's another London company and another online-offline product.
Hi there, guys. Oh, skipped ahead. My name's John Nussey, and I'm head of products for the Goodnight Lamp. I'll tell you a bit about what the lamp is, how it works, why London's so important to us, and where we've got to so far. So just to start off, the idea behind the lamp, it's an internet-connected family of lamps. Each family is made up of a big lamp and a number of little lamps that are connected to it over the internet. Whenever you turn your big lamp on, the little one will turn on wherever it is in the world. The big lamp sort of replaces your bedside light or your desk light. It's a functional light that you just use about your day-to-day routine. And the little one's a reflection of it, a little glanceable way to keep in touch with your loved ones, friends, family, or whoever. Some of the situations you might use it in are if you're traveling and you're on the other side of the world, away from someone, so you can keep in touch with them, see them in different time zones. Or maybe you've just got it at work, so someone can see if you're working late or just about to head off home. This project was come up with a few years ago by Alexandra, our founder. She had the idea when she was at university to connect lamps over the internet, but at the time the infrastructure wasn't necessarily there or particularly easy or affordable to do. At the moment we're able to prototype this lamp to a high degree with open source electronics and software, and it's a lot more accessible for a small company to do. Most importantly is the team of people in our project. We're an even smaller company. There's 4 core members and a few close collaborators that we work with. Adrian's our CTO, and he's in charge of all the web and software connectivity side of things. There's Kostas, who's our lead designer. He's looking at the way the lamp sits in the home, sitting alongside other lamps or replacing them. And Tom's a designer and engineer. He's very talented at looking at the lamp for batch production, maybe even mass production. And there's myself, and I have a broad overview over the project, and I've worked on a lot of the prototypes, some of which we have here today. The lamp at the moment is all designed and made in London. It's particularly useful just to meet the broad skill set of people we need to make it happen. In such a small space. We're all based between Clerkenwell and Shoreditch, more or less, and Adrian's up in Liverpool. It's also particularly handy, Tom has a workshop nearby, which means that we can very quickly develop these prototypes and get real things in front of us, so that we can take them around places, show them to people, refine them, working in small batches before churning out large numbers of them. Also, we're based quite close to the city, which is more important, I think, for our company than the creative resources, because we're able to find legal advice, business advice, and have access to investors to take the project further. We've got an excellent board of advisors and investors. Usman Hawke and Blaine Cook have already invested in the Goodnight lamp to get it this far. They're both based in London, which is excellent for them to stay in touch with what's going on in the project, and excellent for us to have access to their skill and expertise and their views. So today I've brought with us the latest prototypes of the lamps. They're upstairs on the mezzanine, and I'll be there all afternoon to answer your questions. We're planning to go to CES in January, so we'll be there to showcase the project. We've also got another number of shows that we're attending before Christmas. At this stage, we're still looking for more investment to get the product into the market. We've got it quite a long way already, and I hope you'll appreciate the quality of the woodwork on the products. So I guess the next stage is just to say thank you, and if you have any more questions, I'd love to hear from you. Cheers.
It's all about the networks. That community of people in London is invaluable for their expertise, both kind of in knowledge and in skills. Last we have Jane from Subaru, who really epitomizes that maker movement, really getting involved in the physicality of the world.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks for inviting me. Delighted to be here. So I'm going to talk about Subaru. It's a new product, and we've brought it out into the world in quite a particular way. And I think Subaru is really a story of our times, and it would be exciting if more companies like us can happen in London. So Subaru is a new material. It's for fixing things, and it is basically like Play-Doh when you take it out of the pack, and so you can shape it into any shape. It bonds to other materials, like a whole spectrum of other materials, from glass and ceramics to metals and plastics. And the things that people use it for are amazing, but I suppose just a simple example is for repairing gadgets, such as iPhone cables, where the cable comes away from the plastic part and it exposes the wires and means you need to get a new one. which I think is wrong. So I invented Sugrue to give people an easy way to fix and hack and reimagine their stuff. I think we're very used to customizing things online. We're getting more and more used to that personalization idea, but the stuff in our lives is just, the way it is, and we should either like it or lump it or throw it away, get a new one, and I think that's wrong. So these are just some clever examples of things that people have done with Sugrue, and they've sent us their pictures. So for example, the first one is electric toothbrush, where the silicone button was coming away from the housing, and somebody made a new one. So they might seem like mundane things, but I can tell you, like, if you solve a little problem like this, it's actually an amazing sort of feeling. But anyway, the second one is an iron. So irons are quite badly designed. They almost always fall down with the hot side down. So somebody just made some little Sugrue feet on there and stabilized it. And the third example is a reimagining. So it's where somebody's attached magnets to their bike lights so that they're easier to take on and off their bike, and they don't fiddle around with the little plastic bit. Sugrue started as an idea. I was studying design, and it really quite a simple idea. What if all of our stuff wasn't just designed by designers? What if every user and owner of something could not only physically be able to mold it and manipulate it, but actually think that was a normal thing to do? What if every granny that found it hard to open a shampoo bottle was actually able to manipulate that shampoo bottle? I just thought that would be pretty awesome. So I really felt the idea was something that, I really felt like this is like a really sort of futuristic product, but at the same time, it's close enough to stuff that we know, like blue tack and clay and whatever like that, that actually it's sort of an old-fashioned thing in some ways. But to make a material that would do all the things that I needed it to do was quite a feat, and it turned out to be a lot more difficult than I thought. And the way that I went about that was a networked approach. So normally the companies that develop materials like this are companies like 3M, huge multinationals. It takes a lot of research, it takes money, and it takes a lot of time. I was able to do it by collaborating with a number of people, including some retired scientists from Dow Corning, which is one of the main silicone groups, Queen Mary University here in London, and other universities, educational institutions as well. But it took us 5 years to develop a material with all the great specifications that we wanted. And like I said, normally the companies that have these sort of materials are huge multinationals. Luckily, in the 5 years that it took me to develop Sugrue, the world changed, and there was now Twitter and Facebook, and people were now blogging and buying things online, which they weren't when I started. So there was a huge opportunity for us to actually build out what is that vision for Sugrue, and this is something that none of those multinational companies can do, and none of those people have that sort of feel for a brand and actually the cultural implications of what is repair and stuff. So I just think actually, what an amazing thing, So we've brought Sugrue to life over the last sort of 2 years. We've been selling it online, and it's all about basically making a really good user experience and a mission about people should be able to repair again, and it should be easy for people to make things. And so our users feel strongly about that, and they contribute photographs. So our website is just full of thousands and thousands of pictures from our users who do really, really clever stuff. So from things like keeping a pair of sunglasses going because you like them and the sleeve has just come off, to little adaptations on camping equipment. Repairing toys is a really big one, which I love seeing. And then, there's a lot more, thousands more of this, and lots of them are very practical and pragmatic things, such as repairing freezers and dishwashers. When a little part goes, what do? It's crazy that you would have to get a new fridge just because the drawer breaks. Like I said, we've got actually an amazing community. We've produced, I'll talk about the factory in a second, but we've produced over 1.5 million 1.5 mini packs of Sugru, which I hope have mainly converted into fixes, which would be amazing to think. And people are using it in 119 countries around the world, which is pretty amazing. And the first day that we launched, actually, I should say, we sent out to 20 countries. So it's quite phenomenal, actually, what a small little company employing 2 people can do at that point. So today we employ about 30, 10 of which are in our factory in East London. It's an old button factory. If you walked past on the street, you would not know we were there. And I would sort of just think that's actually one of the magic things about London. Like, there's so much stuff going on down alleyways and behind closed walls and doors and stuff. It's pretty phenomenal. We make and pack Sugru ourselves, and the team is a web team, factory, and then our business. Our vision for Sugru is actually about getting the world to repair again, and so we're building a culture around it. It is really benefiting from the opportunities of the internet, but I would say there's something quite special about being in London. I think the culture that we have here, which is the mishmash of all the different disciplines talking to each other, challenging each other, is what has made Sugru possible. And this is our team. I think we have something like, I don't know, somewhere between over 10 nationalities, I think, in the company. You know, this is something really special. I think future manufacturing is, you know, I would love to see lots and lots of micro manufacturer like us. Most of these guys walk to work and cycle to work, and I think that's an exciting city to live in.
Thank you. So there we have it. These companies are exceptional, but not exceptions. We're at the beginning of a wave here. We're seeing more and more of these companies every day. I would encourage you during the lunch break to come upstairs and say hello to everyone. Ask questions there. We'll be up there with Little Printer too. Thank you very much.